So, hi everybody. Okay, I'm a bit early because I just wanted to see if this was working. So, look at that, I've got a little love heart. So yeah, this is me. So, it's about 6 or 7 minutes early, so I'm just going to hang about for a minute because I just want to say, hi Karen! Oh, bless you, thank you for coming and hanging out with me so I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know I've come on early, but I was suddenly really worried that I'd have to go up through some steps and things. Hey Tammy! You can see and hear me, Karen. Wow, look at that! Amazing! And I'm using the someone advised I use a laptop here so I can see comments, so that's really cool. Alright, as you can tell, I've never done this before. I'm not a particularly out there kind of person. I just like to hang out in my kitchen and make cool stuff. So this is like really out of my comfort zone. So you have to forgive me and I'll do my best. Hopefully it'll work, and if nothing else, it'll get better next time. So look, I can see Annette. Annette is my lovely Annette. Annette is my Thursday lady. She comes and helps sort me out on a Thursday, does some baking and just generally stops me freaking out that I've taken on crazy work. Who else have I got? Jeremy. Hi Jeremy. Wow, Jeremy and I go back a long way. God, look, and there we go, there's Camille. That's the lady I need because this is her structure that I'm doing. So we're getting there. Let me just wind this down so I can see everybody. I'm on the telly. I'm on a tiny phone screen. Wow, awesome. Look, I'm super proud of myself. I've been having kittens about this all day. But I'm here, I made it. I turned myself on, so it's fine. Right, so we're nearly there. 25 past, we'll give it another couple of minutes. And then I'll start trying to do something. Anyone who hasn't seen this craziness is what we're kind of structuring today. Now, this wasn't the aim of these lives. I thought we'd do some nice simple stuff and get everyone into structuring, but Camille, the lady who this is for, I owe her a huge amount, so this is payback, and I'll explain why. But this craziness here is what we're going to try for in a couple of minutes. And as you can see, look, here's one I made earlier style. This is what the framework is. Can you see that? Got a nice bounce on it already. Okay, so we are now 25 past, so maybe I should just have a little go. Okay, so Camille, who's there? Hello, yeah, Camille's there. She's the very first lady who 5 or 6 years ago convinced me to start teaching. I didn't want to teach. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I had the skills. I didn't know what I was doing, and therefore the idea of teaching someone else was just mental. She hassled me for about 6 months every day, and eventually I caved in and said, right, come for a private class and I'll teach you something. And we did a little tiny fox, and that was a long time ago, and that platformed me onto teaching. So I owe her everyone I've taught. Everything I've done is based on the hassle she gave me week after week after week to teach. So when she sent me a message saying, I really want to structure this for my son, it's her son's birthday, he's been through the wards, had meningitis, he's not been very well, and he's losing the sight in his eyes. So she really wants to give him an epic birthday cake before that happens so that he can still see it. So whereas normally I wouldn't go near a structure like this, for something like this, it just had to be done. And if I can find a way of posting this out to you, Camille, I will do, and then you don't have to build it yourself anyway. You can just have this one. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do that with everything that's going on, but let's try. So, okay, this guy. If you want to build something like this, you're going to need to get into rods like these, so you can see them. So this here, this is an 8mm rod. Your rods, I've got lots of things in the background, I'll keep coming and going, okay? Your rods come in lots of different sizes. Woo. So there, you can see, that's a 6mm rod, that's an 8mm rod, and that's a 10mm rod. See those? Yeah. So if you want to get into doing running cakes like this, you have to work with rods. Because you can bend them, you can't bend wood. So if I can get away with a wooden structure, I will. I buy into the idea that you make your structure as simple as you possibly can. I don't buy into the idea that you make it as complex as it can. It's just some sort of fancy way of showing off. It's just pointless. And also bending rods is quite hard. So if you can make simple structures out of wooden dowels, then this is what I prefer to use. That's a wooden dowel. All of this stuff you can get from B&Q or any hardware store. these rods as well. These are called threaded rods. They're like giant screws. Oh, 4:30 in the morning. Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. Wow. Oh, so Debbie, it's 4:30 in the morning where Debbie is. I'll sort out better live times, okay? If I'm ever brave enough to do this again, then I'll have a look at different times. But right now, I just want to get through this first one and then see how it goes, okay? So, simple structures. I use wooden rods all the time. When they get onto complex structures that you're going to have to start bending, that's where your threaded rods come in. And you can see, hopefully you can see from there, they've just got threads on. So again, 6mm, 8mm, 10mm. Now, which threaded rod you use is going to depend how much structure you need and how much security, like the weight of a cake is going to depend. So if you can get away with a 6mm, you're doing okay. You can bend that really easily, it's really nice. So if you're doing arms and things, that's quite nice. 8mm's got quite a lot of strength to it. This is 8mm. 10mm is absolutely rock solid, but trying to bend it is really, really hard. So it's a bit of a gamble as to what you go for. Now, ideally, this front leg here, I would rather do with a 10mm rod because it's the entire... Hi, Jennifer! There's all people on. Hi, Karen! All people who I talk to all day, and now you're all here. Bless you. Thank you so much for helping me out here. It's great. 10mm rod is really hard to bend. Ideally, this front leg here, if I had a 10mm rod on there, I wouldn't get any play on that at all. Now, I know that if Camille's going to do this, I don't think she's going to fancy bending a 10mm rod. And I also know that because it's for her son, it's unlikely to travel. So actually, a little bit of play like that, given that my cake's only going to be here and here, it will survive it. It won't cause too much problems. If I was doing this bigger, and I knew it, say, had to go to London and it had to travel, I'd have to start bending 10mm rods. Okay? But I'm going to leave it as 8 now because I know that Camille stands a better chance of doing it and I don't think it's going to go anywhere, so it's fine. So I'll just chuck that back over there. So first thing, so this is our guy, Luigi. The first thing I did is I put him into my computer. Hi Nadia. Hi Amanda. Wow, look, these are all my old mates. Hi Kerry. Hey Kerry. Kerry's an NHS ICU nurse, so we all need to Kerry at the minute, bless her. Right, first thing I did was I put him into my computer and I scaled him up and then I cut him in 4 and printed out him on 4 A4 piece of paper. Can you see him? So now he's roughly the right shape for the size I want it to be. So if you can scale up your picture, it's going to help you work out how big to do your design. Instead of just guessing, you can literally level it up behind and do it like that. Then from there, I can start working a structure point out. So, structure point, you're looking for any down points that you can get to. This is the easiest way to do it. Is there any point that runs right through his body? Now, a normal cake, a normal design that I would choose when I'm looking around the internet, would have a central shaft through it. Like, he'd have one leg slightly further down, or you'd have 2 legs down. If Danielle's around, and we're talking about, I'm going to help her out with the little Sonic as well, if I can get it in, you'll get a central point down it. That's quite easy. Camille's one, because she's completely mental, has got no central point. You can't do it. If you can run one through here, but you run out here, so you have to put a bend in it, which is why you end up with this bendy leg. Any central point, you could just put a pole straight down there and it would work beautifully. I've ended up with this bendy leg. But at least, to begin with, I was thinking I'd have to do an angle going all the way, can you see that? Ooh, rubbish, there we go. An angle going all the way up his foot and then into his leg. But actually, if you look, you've got a straight line up here that you can get in and go under there. So I could just do a straight point here because the more you have to bend it, the harder it gets. So I only need to do 1 bend, right? Now as it is, instead of going straight up, I went up a bit and then along. But he's quite a thick leg, so I could have got away with doing a straight up and only having 1 bend rather than like a bend here and then a bend there and a bend there into the body. Then you've got a body, and then luckily we've got a straight up here. His head is enormous, so in terms of proportions, his head, look at that, his head is the same size as his body. So anyone who thinks that they can just put a structure here and no structure on his head is going to end up with that head falling off. Same size. So we have to put a chin point in. And then, because he's got this enormous nose here, I've put another little structure here because I reckon if you just did a chin point, by the time you then try to put something on the nose, even if it was a polyball or anything, it's going to fall off. So that's why you've got that running like that. Okay, so that's why I've done his structure like that. And you have to, all the weight of this cake is coming on here, so this rod has to be really strong. So 8mm will hold it because I reckon there's only probably about a 10-inch, if in total 10-inch cake here, but anything bigger, if you're going to go bigger, you'd have to 10mm that rod there. But that's how I've done his structure. I've looked for the down point, where it's going to hit the ground. Now I've not structured through his foot at all because that can just be a piece of tin foil or a piece of modelling chocolate or whatever. I'm just going to structure to that point there. And go up there, into his belly, up and then up. And there he is. So that's him blown up to scale, more or less. And that's going to help. If you haven't got a way of doing that with a printer, if you grid over your small one, so you literally get a pencil and a ruler and you grid, and then you do your larger piece and you put the same grid on, you can map from one to the other, so you can draw yourself a scaled up version. Yeah? Okay, so here we go. Then we're going to get to our structure. So first things first, this is MDF. That's 12mm MDF. Anything over this size, and you want to go up to 15mm MDF. 12mm MDF will only hold about this sort of weight. Anything bigger, you need to go up. First thing, did you see on the bottom, I put feet on. The reason you need to put feet on is because whatever you've got sticking out the bottom here, you need to give it the space for. What's Jeremy saying? I might have accidentally crashed your tutorial. I'll try and sneak out. Bye, Jeremy. Bless him. I've known Jeremy for a very long time, and he's not into cakes in the slightest. He's into photography. He's part of my old world. So you've got baseboard, and you've got the, who am I? Hi Lorraine. So you've got the baseboard and then you've got some feet underneath it. Can you see them? If you don't have the feet, you can't put anything underneath. So your rod and your nut and everything going underneath, you need to put feet. So I just cut in some more pieces of MDF and put that on there like that. Okay. I've got a question about weight distribution. If you've got a really strong rod on the front, you can get away without weight distribution. I did look at it with this one actually, but if you look at it, because his head is tilting forwards, actually there isn't going to be too much weight coming off this back end because it's doubling back over. So the head is going to be here, which is actually putting the weight back over the front point. If there was lots and lots of weight over here, I might think about it, but all I'm going to do at that point is increase the weight of the rod here. If you think about the dogs I did, all the weight was over there and all I did was put really, really strong rods through the front. So I'm not really too worried about it. If you've got your support and your strength in, you can put as much weight as you want over there. It's just about getting the weight through. But this one, it's the only good thing about this cake is actually the weight is all here, which is front loading on top of this one here. So that should support quite nicely. There's not really a problem with that one. Okay. So what are these rods? You've got your 8mm rods, which we talked about. That is the little one. Right, and with your rod, you're going to need a washer, and you're going to need a nut. Okay, you need the washer. If you don't have the washer, everything just spins round. The washer is the thing that bites into the wood. This is also MDF. So to do that, okay, you're going to have a washer and a nut underneath and a washer and a nut on the top. Really quick point is you can tighten these as much as you want with your hands. They'll feel really tight, and as soon as you put any weight on any cake, they'll start spinning. So absolutely, you have to wrench it. So you have to get your wrench in and tighten it, and then ideally you get a second wrench underneath and you cross tighten a pair of them. Same here. Really, really important because they feel as tight as anything by hand, and then they're just not tight at all. Let's have a look. Yeah, what do I use to bend the rod? Let's do that. So we've talked about rods, we've talked about nuts, we've talked about washers. There's two ways to bend rods, the hard way and the harder way. I don't know where hubby ran off with it. Right, the way I've been bending rods, it's not easy. which is why you want to try and stay away from the 10mm rods, but you sometimes have to do it. So we've got to bend this rod. We're going from there to there. So, and also, you think about your rod has to start down underneath, so it's no good bending it from the top of the board because you're going to be a centimetre or two out. So make sure you've got it when you do it, that you're allowing enough space to go underneath. Really important that, because otherwise when you go underneath to put your rod in, there's no rod there because you bent it in the wrong place. So you're going to mark it out. This is how I bend them, is putting that like that, and then getting a cloth. I'm going to show you up here. Putting it to the end of the table, right? And if you put that on the end of a table with a tea towel, you will actually be able to bend it. I'll show you on a 6mm one. I didn't bring a tea towel over, otherwise it'd be easy. But if I put, I know you won't see this, but if I put that like that, I don't know if I can do it so you can see it. It's like that. You put it over the end, and you do that. It'll bend the rod. Okay, so all I did was put, it's a bit complicated, put that like that, put it over an edge of something and then pull it and it'll bend it. So you can see already I've bent that shape there. Yeah? And then to do the same, I'm doing it on a 6mm rod just to show you because it's easier for me at the minute. Bending larger rods takes a bit more effort. So I'm going to go on this here, and also I'd normally have a tea towel. Note to self, next week to bring a tea towel. I'm going to go on the edge again, and I'm just going to bend it. See? Can you see that now? What's that? Spam use device, yeah. So I was just going to show it, and we used it yesterday, but I don't know where hubby's run off with it. I'll have to bring it if I'm still alive to do this next week. I'll show it you. I'm going to run off, which is terrible. For 2 seconds. I just wonder if he's put it back here. Right, somewhere it's gone hiding.
Mummy!
Hang on a second.
Can I play on the PS4?
Wait a second. Yes! I've just been asked if my 6-year-old can play on the PS4. Hopefully he just goes away. I've got a pipe bender and a vice. That's the other way of doing it. But I've never used it because I'm quite happy with this way. It works quite well and I can get to control the exact bend. See, I can do it there. Pipe benders, so far, I've found that, yeah, you get a really nice round bend, but actually we want tighter bends. So I bend it by hand. I also know Dot, the amazing Dot from Eat Cake Party bends by hand. But yesterday I did start using a pipe bender, so you can have a look at one of those. I'll bring the pipe bender next week and I'll show you how to do it. So either way, that's how you bend your rods. Little tip, once you've bent your rod, you now can't get nuts on that because they don't go over the bends. So when your rod is straight, get your nuts and bolts in the right place. Get them on first before you bend them, because once they're bent, you can't get rods on. So always put your nuts on, and then bend it. Okay? Let's put them down there. Whoop. So that's that one. Then I bent this one. I actually levelled them up together, so I put them together so that, because if his leg was going to be that long, it had to be the same as that long. So that's why I worked on them together. Then you just need a drill. That's it. That's a relatively easy bit. So any drill, and that's an 8mm drill bit to go through. That's fairly easy. This one's the easier one because this is straight. There's no bending. It's these legs that are complex. Now, if you get to choose your design, try and avoid something that's got these crazy bendy legs. Most characters that you do, you'll find a design where their legs are straight down. Makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to make it this complicated, but this is the design we're working to. So you've got your straight up, and then I've got a point for his chin, and then I've got a point higher up because his head is so big. Sometimes, if it's a smaller head, you might be able to just get away with one piece here, just a chin piece, and then you can build your head up round it. But with a head this size, I'd be really worried because you're talking what, four layers there of cake? 1, 2, 3, 4, and that you're going to really struggle, especially with this hat. So that's why I've given him an extra support here. And then I've left the rod longer, so that I've got basically a dowel running right through. I don't know if you can see that because I've got it set up. But these are bubble tea straws. So you can use these to food safe your rods. You can cut them and split them and put them all the way across. So they're really, really nice ways of food safing the rod. Yeah, if I was going to do this for a client, I'd put a 10mm rod here because I just don't like that amount of bounce on it. It's just a bit too scary for me. But it's not. It'd probably be okay. But if I had a 10mm rod to cut, I'd probably do that. So that's that. So that's how you save. Yeah, talking about food safing. This is how you can food safe them. So you can use tinfoil. You can use bubble tea straws, which is what I prefer to use. You can wrap them in cling film, but I worry that people will cut them and not be able to see the cling film and then eat cling film. So I prefer to use bright pink straws, and then no one's going to get confused by it. Okay. So there's your tinfoil. So I'd also wrap it. Now then, we've got our structure going. You have to make this food safe, so you'd have to wrap all of this in tinfoil. You'd have to wrap all of this in tinfoil if you're not using bubble tea straws. If you look on the picture, okay, this board here comes about it's not quite the base of his belly. So what you need to do is, as you're bulking out the legs, you can bulk out the underneath with tin foil as well. If you want to use Rice Krispie treats, you can. I know people have got a real thing about Rice Krispie treats. I absolutely hate them, hate the stuff. It's messy, it's sticky. I've never known anyone to actually eat it. So it's a waste of money, a waste of food, waste of everything. And it falls off all the time and everything. So I just bulk out with tin foil. So if I'm going to bulk out his legs, I'm going to bulk it out with tin foil. Or I'm going to bulk it out with modelling chocolate. If I want to really lock that leg in and I'm worried about it, I'll just bulk it out with modelling chocolate and it will just lock it all off. Nothing's going to bounce after that. You can bring the end up with tin foil, or again, you can lock it off with modelling chocolate. Give him a belly under here with tin foil, or again, modelling chocolate, or Rice Krispie treats if you want to spend ages trying to get the stuff to stick on. That's up to you. So we've got his legs. He's going to have there. He's got his body coming up here. If you notice this headpiece, this whole body piece is off centre. That's because he's off centre. I don't want his body running up here. I want his body running up the front there. So I've off centred this piece here. I haven't done it right in there. Yeah. Okay, Sharon. So I will use Sharon. So Sharon's asking if I use the same mill rod through all the way through. I'll use the smallest rod I can get away with because bending it's horrible. So I really would like that front leg, the one where all the support's going. I'd like that to be a 10mm rod. But I also know that that's much harder to bend. So I'm trading at the minute because I know where it's going and what's happening. But if it was going to a client out, then this would be a 10mm rod up the front. Then after that, the back leg's going to carry no weight at all. So that can be 6mm. This middle section is going to carry quite a lot of weight, so I wouldn't go less than an 8mm on that. So if you wanted to, you could do 10, 8, 6, but that's just getting a lot of faff with a lot of different rods. So by doing it all 8 is easiest, it's fastest, because I'm just trying to show you guys that if I was doing it for a client, I'd definitely have a 10mm rod on this front, because you've got the entire structure resting on that. If that fails on you, you're in quite serious trouble. So 10mm on the front, and then you can really sort of play with it, whatever you've got. I'm a bit of a MacGyver cake maker, so whatever I've got I'll use and then gamble it. There's no fun. If it's not gambling a little bit, it's no fun, is it? But shh, don't tell anyone. Right, so we've got food saved all the way. We've bulked out the legs. We're not going to worry about this front foot, so we don't have to structure for the front foot at all. We just can put tinfoil here, or modelling chocolate, or whatever. We're basically structured through that heel, which is quite nice. Initially I thought I was going to have to like put an up piece, and then I thought, what are you doing? You don't need to make it that complicated. You can just land it there and then do whatever. So that's our structure. That's our tin foil. We've made it food safe. What else do we need to do? Ah, yes, arms. Yeah, how do I cut rods? There's 2 ways to cut rods. There's the very, very hard way but isn't scary, or there's the absolutely terrifying way that's quite easy. Just a minute. No. Go. Problem with having 3 kids. You don't understand. Right. Cutting threaded rods. 2 ways to cut threaded rod. That is the hard way. It takes a long time. I did that for about 4 years. in between begging hubby to do it. You can cut through threaded rod quite easily with that. It's just elbow grease. It would take you kind of 15 minutes to cut a threaded rod, but you just put it in a workmate and it'll do it. When you get tired of doing that, you can get one of these. This is a grinder. This is amazing, this thing. That, look at the hearts going up now. Yeah, everyone likes bits of packet. That is a grinder. That will cut through metal rods like butter. It's also terrifying. The sparks that come off it are absolutely insane. I got one for my hubby and said, please cut metal rods for me, which I don't normally do. I normally do all my own work, but I was just too scared. But the other day, he was being moody and I didn't want to ask him. So I did it. I got my goggles on and I went outside and I cut my own rods. And yeah, it was, other than the fact that it was completely terrifying, it worked really well. And I did it. And I was really, really proud of myself. And I still have 2 hands left and no burns. So I think it's fine. I think it's just, it's a bit of a scary power tool, but I suspect like everything else, once you get going with it, you're absolutely rocking. And I tell you what, my hands, I get really bad RSI because I work with my hands all the time. So my hands are so relieved, I now use that rather than anything else. So properly safety up, use your gloves, use your goggles, make sure you've got your workmate out and your rod's completely locked in there so it's not going to go anywhere. And then you hold that. And you hold that and you just put the two together and the sparks fly everywhere and you feel like a kind of like some sort of ninja. So that's cool. So I'm going to use that to do it. I'll just put that away over there. Cut the MDF shapes. We've got the other power tool, which is a jig. Now, you can buy these for about £15. They're really, really cheap and they're so easy to use. These don't scare me at all because they've got the protection plate there. So you can't get your hand anywhere near them. They're never going to hurt you. Right, so all you have to do is draw around your shape and then this will just guide itself for you and you're just guiding your shape round. So obviously start with your squares and then just draw around your shape and you can quite easily cut your rounds and things like that. So that is essential. That is £15 and if you don't have one, you need to buy one. The grinder is probably a bit of a step too far, but as I say, there's a lot of structures that won't need rods like this. There's huge numbers of them. It's quite unusual that I'll do structure with rods, but I wanted to help Camilla out, so that's why we've started at the deep end and then next week we'll probably go easier. But that's called Jigsaw and they're from about 15 quid, so again, dead easy. So definitely get yourself one of those. So that's how you cut your shapes, that's how you cut your rods, that's how you cut your board. Just put all this stuff away. What else is there? Oh yeah, there we go. So you might see at the moment, so we've got his legs, but we've got no arms on him. There's 2 ways to do arms. The way I used to do them is I used to cut a piece of wood here. Now you can't do this with MDF because if you try and put things through the side of MDF, you'll discover it splits. You can't do it. So you have to get a proper bit of 2x4 like that. Okay, you can cut through the sides of that. So if you cut yourself a wedge there, you can drill through the side of it. If you try and drill through MDF, it's made of nothing, so it just splits quite away. So what I used to do is I used to drill a square there, a little block, and then I used to screw 2 rods in, and then you get your arms. Okay, since I've discovered modelling chocolate, I now use this stuff. This is Armature Wire. I'm quite new to this. I just bought it off Amazon. I bought a pack of 5 different thicknesses. I didn't know what to get. So what I've started doing now, right, is, did you see these 2 nuts here? Can you see those? I've started wrapping the armature wire around these nuts. Oh yeah. Like that. Let me just look at the picture because he's got little short stubby arms, doesn't he? So what do you reckon? Something like that? Do you know, I'd really like you guys to be able to talk back to me. I'm really used to Zoom meetings and Zoom chats and stuff where I can talk to people. This sort of talking to myself thing is a bit weird. So we can do one like that, we can do one like that, and then, thank you, just your pliers, wire cutters, okay, and you can just cut that. So this is armature wire. I use this a lot now, and it's really cool because it's really bendy, but as soon as you let go it stays in exactly the same shape, which is really nice because like floral wire would just sort of, you know, bend and stuff, but that is so malleable, but then it sets. So if you do it like that, let me just look at my picture again. So he's got one hand kind of coming out there, hasn't he, and one hand going out there. And then what I do when I'm happy with it, I can lock those two nuts together, and then if I cover that in modelling chocolate, that's going to set rock solid. Then that's going to set rock solid. And once that's solid, I can then add the fondant and his arms and hands and things like that. So now he's got his arms as well as his legs. And the cool thing about that is if you want to have his arms over this way, or arms up that way, or whatever you want to do, you can move the arms about. Once you've got in place, just lock those nuts off again. Like that. How's that doing? I don't think it's 2mm. I think it's the thickest one, so I think it's 3mm armature wire. Nadia, you cut rods with a jigsaw, Jesus Christ. I can't imagine a jigsaw doing particularly well with rods, but if it works for you, then that's great. Yeah, I don't think I've ever. Do you have a different saw on your jigsaw then, like a specific one if you're going to cut metal? Let me know. That would be really useful to know, because if you can cut rods with jigsaws and a specific saw, then that would be really helpful. Or you just get a grinder and have lots of fun with sparks going, which we like. So we've got it covered. We've got his arms on. Not sure there's anything. Is there any other questions? Have I sort of shown you the main process going on here? You've got nuts and bolts with each one. Again, I'm going to reiterate, every time you mess around, this loosens up. So you have to get in there and tighten each and every bit. Get one wrench above and one wrench below and really give him a good tighten all the way up. I've got the middle one here because his head is so big I want a second support. Getting cake on, you're going to cutting pieces. Again, this is a really awkward one. So the reason why I wouldn't choose this as a sellable design is because it's not got a lot of cake and it's a huge amount of work. So in terms of getting any profit out of it, it's quite difficult. Because it's not going to serve very many people. It's going to take you hours and hours and hours. So this is definitely a love cake. This is definitely one you're going to do for your friends and family, or like for a competition if you want to just be really flair. Trying to sell this as a client cake at this size would be really different. If you really scaled it up and you did like a life size or whatever, I don't know how big Luigi would be, and you could get more cake in it, that'd be worth it. But the complexity of doing this for such a small cake, it's definitely going to be for someone you absolutely love, and it's their kind of like the most special thing to them. It's definitely a love design. So you're gonna post your cake in here. You've got your dowels to make everything, your straws to make everything safe. 2 pieces on the head, that's going to be your base. You're going to give it a belly under here, as we said, with tin foil or whatever to round that off, because you don't want this board to be your end. You really don't want the board to be the end. You want to round it off so that you're from your mind's eye, you can't see the bottom of the board. If you can hide the base of the board, you're halfway there. Feet you can do with tin foil, discussed, and I think we're about there. So if you have any questions, could you let me know? How do you attach a tinfoil ball to the bottom? So what I would do with a tinfoil ball on the bottom is I put a tinfoil ball there, and then I get like big long strips of tinfoil and I wrap it and I bring them over on the top, because you need to wrap the top in tinfoil anyway to keep it food safe. And by doing that, you're creating a little parcel, and then the top tinfoil sits here, and then your cake holds the weight of it on. So your tinfoil won't come off the bottom because it's been wrapped in another tinfoil which sits on the top. And then obviously you're ganaching absolutely everything. With anything like this, it's got to be really good, strong ganache. You need it to be locked off and sealed off completely. So once you've got your tinfoil in here, everywhere, you're going to completely ganache it before you start putting any icing on. Really important, that one. Any other questions? Let me just have a look, because wow, it's 45 comments here. Crikey. I think I was answering as I go along, but let me just check. How do I see all the comments? Where are you all? How do you touch tinfoil? I've done that bit. I can only see the last few comments. I'm hoping I got them all there. It's not letting me go up. Now, if Danielle was here, just quickly, Danielle was desperate for me to show her how to do this guy because it's her son's birthday next week and she wants to do it. So can you see from what I've done now how to translate that? So the good news is, look, we don't need these silly bendy legs. You've just got 2 straight legs here. But they're quite skinny, so you're not going to get away with doing wooden rod. You're going to have to do your rods, but they can be straight, so just cut them straight, okay? He's got a tiny skinny body, so you could either do a silly little bit of cake there, or you can just tinfoil it and do it as like just a cake head thing. The head bit's complicated because of these here. So what I was going to do, if I was going to do it, is these 2 boards here, I would extend them right back to catch 2 of those spikes. So you'll have 2 spikes coming off this board, and 2 spikes coming off this board, and then 1 spike coming off the top, which you could do in cake. So the top one would just be icing or modelling chocolate or whatever, but at least that second row of spikes and the bottom row of spikes, make them in wood coming out, and then you can just kind of like add a bit of icing to the back just to add the points in. If you don't support the spikes on the back of his head, I think it's all going to collapse. So the legs aren't too bad, the body isn't too bad, the head is really complex, but if you just use these two boards like this, one for his little chin, one about just where his eyes are, but extend them off the back, I think, to do the to catch the spikes, and I think you'll get away with that. And then you've got basically a big cake head going on. I'm not sure I'd bother putting any cake in the middle. You could if you're really being facetious, but that's fine. And then, if you wanted a bit more cake, you could cake his feet. So hopefully Danielle's caught that, and hopefully that will help her out a little bit. The arms on him, I would worry about, because they're like this. And then the other one is, I don't know if I can do it by holding. One's like that, and the other one's over here like that. But by the time you put those huge white gloves on the end, that's an awful lot of weight, even for armature wire that's covered in modelling chocolate. So personally, I would put the arms down. At least then you're giving gravity a decent chance of being able to help you. Do what you can to try and help gravity a little bit. If you keep trying to make things harder and harder and harder, eventually you're going to fall over. So if nobody's going to mind if the arms are down, then let's put the arms down. If you're going to do the arms up like that, then go back to the block of wood and the threaded rods, because at least then that's going to be completely solid. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there before I have a heart attack. So let me just see if there's any more questions about what we've got. You can find them in food stores, I presume hardware stores, that's someone else. Could you use little glue dots from the glue gun underneath to attach the tinfoil? What's food safe? I'm fairly sure that glue, should I just move that a minute? There you go. I'm fairly sure that glue from glue guns is not food safe. You can try all sorts of things. You can try ganache, you can try everything, but I tend to find the more weight you put on, the more things fall off. So personally, it works perfectly well if you do a little tinfoil package and then you wrap that in another piece, like a bandage of tinfoil, bring it over the top, and then the weight of the cake above it just holds it on. Anything that is just, the gravity just beats you up all the time with cakes. It's constantly fighting. You're constantly fighting gravity because you're constantly trying to do things with cake that gravity doesn't want you to. And tinfoil, once you put ganache on tinfoil, it gets quite heavy. So if you haven't got something wrapped over the top to physically stop it, it's going to want to pull down all the time. Remember, you've got tinfoil, you've got ganache, you've got icing, and you're going to find it doesn't fall down then, it falls down at 3 o'clock in the morning before you've got to deliver it. So if you wrap it and you lock it on the top with the cake and things on, it's not going to go anywhere. It's much better to do it that way, I think. Is it possible to do structure in smaller sizes? Thank you, Kamal. The reason why I don't like doing small cakes, it's from a commercial point of view. The smaller the cake, the cheaper people think it is. They think if they order a cake for 8, it's going to be really cheap, even if it takes you exactly the same amount of time as it would if they ordered it for 200. So I always say to people, you can order it for 8, it will cost you the same as if you'd ordered it for 200, and they back off pretty fast. I just say you might as well have it, make an absolute showpiece of it, amaze everybody, and then if you've got spare cake, you can give it to friends and family. If you scale down, you're going to have problems with your rods, because your 6mm rod, like 6mm rod feels quite sturdy, but I can bend that. she says. Can I bend it? Yeah, look. I can bend that quite easily. So that's going to happen on your cake. So if you're not having a decent sized rod, you're not going to be able to get the structure in. So yeah, I think just cake bigger. Just make it bigger. It's always better bigger, isn't it? No? Yeah, hopefully. Have you got any other questions? Oh, bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming. If you want me to do another one, just let me know, and I'll try again next week. And I'll bring the pipe bender. It's blooming massive. I can't imagine where it's been stashed. It's quite something. So I'll bring that next week, and we'll do something a bit simpler, and perhaps a bit simpler to get you guys going rather than this crazy one. But Camille, I want to see this cake, and Danielle as well. I want to see Sonic. So if you can do that, that would be great. And let me know how you guys get on. And please just be brave. Honestly, I learnt this by playing with it. I didn't learn it by, waiting to be taught it or anything. I bought some stuff and I just started playing, and they've just got more and more complex over time. So if you don't break the pain barrier, you won't do it. A bit like me doing this live. If I don't break the pain barrier, I won't do it. So let's all just break some pain barriers and then talk to each other when we're the other side of it, yeah? All right, I think I have to walk towards you to get it to finish. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say, see you later, take care, speak soon.